Welcome back. This is week 1. And you just finished watching the first video, hopefully. You did the start here. If you didn't do the start here, you better just shut it down. Just shut it down and return. Just close this video out and go to start here first. And I mean, don't close it down. Don't shut the video down yet. You want to go to start here. You want to click start here. And it'll take you here, and there's going to be another video right here. Click that video before you watch this video. Otherwise, you're going to get spoilers. Jeez. Nobody wants spoilers. Anyways, you should be in week 1 by now. And so, I would like to tell you what to do this week. This video is not going to be here. I'm going to replace this video with the video you're currently watching. So, that really doesn't make any difference, because by this point you've already seen my new video. This time travel stuff's tough. Alright. Writing Project 1 guidelines. You got 4 writing projects. This is number 1. It's broken down by like 3 to 5 weeks. I think the first one's like 3 or 4 weeks. And you got basically 4 big essays. Not big essays. They're like 4 pages? I don't know. Let's click on it. Let's find out. Shall we? Alright. Writing Project 1. I'm not sure why it says English 105. I didn't write that. That's strange. Okay. Anyways. This is English 131. If you're in the wrong class, you can't be in the wrong class. It's an online class. They put the powers that be put you in the class. So if they screwed up and you're somehow in the wrong class, call somebody that cares. But literally, like, call somebody that can help you out. Alright, so this is called the reflective narrative. I wish this thing would get out of the way. There we go. Writing Project 1 is the reflective narrative. It is a 3 to 4 page essay, and your job is to basically tell me a story, and in that story, link up some kind of social issue that you've had experience with, whether that be racism. That's kind of a big one that I see in the media all the time, because it needs to be some kind of social issue. First of all, you have to figure out a social issue. Like I said, it could be racism, it could be abortion, it could be gun laws, it could be Trump. You know, like that's just generally a big issue right now. Like everybody talks about that stuff a lot. And so it's a social issue. If it has anything to do with society, it's a social issue. It doesn't have to be that big either. I mean, like those are the hot topics right now. But if you want to do something else, I mean, it could be as small as like, my neighbor Tom friggin' eats Cheez-Its on my front lawn and he won't leave. And so what do? That's a social issue. It happens in society, in your neighborhood. Or maybe you don't like the fact that you don't have a gated community and you feel like, hey, I feel like there should be a gate on my community to keep everybody out. That's a social issue. It can literally be any social issue you want, as long as it has something to do with more than you. If it has to do with like you and your family, that could arguably be a social issue. But if it's like, my wife makes horrible spaghetti. I mean, actually, my wife makes pretty good spaghetti, but let's just say she didn't, and that probably doesn't qualify as a social issue. That's like a marital issue, and that's just, I don't know what to tell you. go to a counselor. Tell her to make some better dishes. Go feed yourself, you lazy friggin' bum. Go to McDonald's. Whatever. Anyways, so social issues can be pretty big, just as long as it involves more than just you and like 1 or 2 other people. As long as it affects more than just you. Okay, and I mean, like, you basically run your topics by me. If you feel like it's not a social issue, just email me and be like, hey, can I talk about how my son won't clean his room? And I'll say, no, that's probably not a social issue. It doesn't really affect anybody besides you and your son. Try and make this a little bigger. So maybe like, the school doesn't mow their grass often enough, and I think that's gross. Okay, cool. That's actually a social issue, because that affects more than just you and your family. Try to think outside your household. That's kind of the smallest amount you can go. You really can't go too big. I mean, you talk about abortion, that's like as big as it gets right now. You talk about Trump, and you talk about presidencies and governors stuff. That's pretty much as big as it goes. So you really can't go too big. Anyways, dialing it back. 3 to 4 pages, and so you're telling me the story about your experience with some kind of social issue. Maybe a time that you tried to get a gun, you tried to buy a gun and you couldn't. Maybe you have a felony on your record. I think states won't sell you a gun if you have a felony. I think that's right. I don't know. I don't have a felony. I don't have a gun. I'm just completely uneducated about this whole topic. But let's just say that that did happen to you. Maybe you have a felony and you tried to buy a gun, they wouldn't let you. Tell me that story. That is going to be a story where you can, first of all, tell me the story, and then after you get done, you're typing this and you'll tell me the story. After you get done telling the story, then you reflect on it. Tell me what happened in that story. What how did that story actually change your life for the short term? And then write again another paragraph or two. How did that story change your life for the long term? And I'll go into that more in depth in a little while, but right now it's just kind of the general overview of it. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk more about this in depth. You'll need to identify a purpose, audience, and genre. So not necessarily within the paper, just while you're planning this paper, it'll make things a lot easier if you think about the purpose of the paper, the audience to whom you are writing, and the genre that you think best delivers your message. And again, we'll talk about this stuff further throughout the week. Now, identify a social issue with which you've had experience. We've already talked about that. And develop a thesis. Now, these, like this part right here where there's actually a deliverable, and that means like you actually write something and submit it to me. Those are going to be homework pieces. So you'll actually get feedback from me, and I'll talk about them, and the whole 9 yards. And last but not least, produce a narrative. Narrative is basically just a story, by the way. You'll hear that word a lot in life from here forward if you stay in school. And a narrative is basically just a story. So just tell me a story that describes the importance of the events in your life. Just to kind of break it down real quick, I got a second. I'm in my office, so this is the first time I've gotten on this board before. Well, let's do this, shall we? So there we go. Let me mark my outlines here. How far can I go? You guys can pretty much go to the end of my board. And then, of course, that one. How high up can you see? This is so I don't write outside of your realm. We'll say that's the top. And here's the bottom. Okay, that's just so so wherever I write, I stop before you guys can't see it. So anyways, if you're going to write your essay, basically you're going to have an intro. And remember, I'm going to go into this more in another video. I'm just kind of giving you an outline so you know, hey, what am I trying to wrap my head around here? So one, there's your intro. That's going to be, think of this like the 5-paragraph essay you learned in high school. It's going to be a little longer. Obviously, 4 paragraphs isn't going to get you to 3 to 4 pages. You're going to need a little bit more. But these are like sections, so you can fill these up with 1 to 2 paragraphs. Realistically, this one's just going to be 1 paragraph. Can you guys see that? Yeah, okay. Cool. You're not talking. What's wrong? 2, you're then going to tell me a story. This one might be several paragraphs. I'd say it would at least be, got a little lisp going on there. I would say this at least. I got a little Mike Tyson going on. You gonna eat all that soup? Anyways, story. The story that you tell is at least gonna have 2 paragraphs, I would say, and it could be upwards to anywhere, even up to like 7 paragraphs. But you just tell me the story of your experience with the social issue. If you had an experience with gun laws, tell me about that story. If you had an experience with your neighbor Tom eating Fruit Loops on your front lawn, then tell me that story. Or maybe like everybody in your neighborhood had an experience with Tom eating Fruit Loops on their front lawn. It's become a big social issue. Okay, cool. Tell me that story right here. 3, this is where the essay actually starts to come together. The immediate impact. How did that affect your life, like right then and there? So you tell the story, and after the story is done, let's say that we were talking about that story about the gun laws. Does the story end with you getting a gun? And if so, what happened thereafter? What was the immediate impact? You felt safer? Your family felt safer? You started going on a killing spree? Like, what is it? What did you do next? Well, how did that impact your life immediately after the story stopped? So like, minute 1, I got my gun. What happened after that? What was very next? You tell me that probably in, I'd say 1 to 3 paragraphs. Probably not a whole lot there. And then 4, this is section 4, the long-term impact. And again, that one's probably also going to be 1 to 3 paragraphs. And that's kind of, if you got the gun and the immediate impact is that you felt safe and your wife and children felt safe, or maybe you don't have a wife and family yet, or maybe you got more than one. I don't know. But let's say that maybe you're a little younger, you're like 18, 19, especially. You know what? Half these kids are going to be high school students. I'm reflecting on my life choices for the last couple of videos, making sure these are high school appropriate. Let's hope they are. Anyways, let's say you're a younger crowd and you can't exactly buy a gun yet. Well, that probably is a poor choice of topic. But anyways, let's just say you got a gun somehow. Immediately after, what was your immediate impact? Okay, you went and robbed a liquor store. Sweet, man. Everybody's got different goals in life, but the long-term impact, what happened long-term? Well, now you're looking back and you're like, man, the last 5 years in prison have really sucked. And so that would be like your long-term impact of how getting the gun, you went to the story, I got my gun, and then the immediate impact, I felt safer, I went and robbed a liquor store or whatever. The long-term impact was, my house has been safe for 25 years. Or the long-term impact, I went to jail right away. And so the long-term impact is going to be at least a little while after your immediate impact. Because you'll go through intro, story, immediate impact, and then long-term impact. What happened, long after. At least, probably at least a couple weeks, maybe at least a couple days. It's kind of up to you. You're the author. You can kind of make that decision. As long as there are 2 separate impacts. You have to have 2 things. Basically, how does this affect your life in immediate and long term? Those 2 separate things. And last but not least, then you got your conclusion. And that's just basically where you review all of the main points in your entire essay. So I'll go over that more in depth in another video. Oh, wow. The guy that was sitting here before me was really tall. Alright, there we go. Anyway, so that's this, and then if you go down further, it breaks down the actual assignments. So determine the event and issue for writing project 1, that's due the 27th. Thesis statement, due September 3rd. Writing draft, due September 3rd. Peer review for editing is due September 6th. These are all going to fall within your weekly content folders. So all 5 of those assignments are going to fall, if you click over here on weekly course content, they're going to fall in one of these folders. Okay, so don't worry about like, oh, I can't remember when to turn something in, because you don't have to remember. It's just if it's in this folder, you turn it in. You just do all of the assignments in the folder. And if you're ever not sure, you go down to Full Grade Center or My Grades, actually. You go down to My Grades, and it'll have all the assignments right here. If it says you're late on something, then do it. Or if it says it's due like tomorrow, well, friggin' do it. Alright, so weekly course content. Come back to that. Go back to week 1. And that's the guidelines. Now the rubric, this is how I'm going to grade it. Basically it's 20% on everything. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly because you can just kind of read it on your own. Just know that focus, that's me grading your thesis. And the content, that is how well does your thesis match the rest of the paragraphs in your essay. So if your thesis is talking about your experience with gun laws, and then your paragraphs, your story, your immediate impact, your long-term impact are all talking about abortion, well, obviously those 2 things don't really go well together. I mean, unless you're a really good writer. Now, organization, that's how well you organize the essay. Do you follow this structure that I just did back here? And you don't necessarily have to follow my structure. If you can follow your own, great. But you just need to follow the idea of a topic sentence, and then the body of a paragraph, and then the transitionary sentence. So I'll talk more about those in later videos, but that's basically what makes up organization. Expression, that's word choice. So if you're writing an essay and you have a ton of words that could really be trimmed down to maybe just 1 or 2 words, that's where you're going to start losing points for expression. Basically just your word choice. How concise of a writer are you? Mechanics, that's everything else. Spelling, grammar, punctuation, things like that. And I grade you guys on a scale of 0 to 10. Normally people are going to fall right within here, within the 6 to 10 range. If you fall below that, then you made some kind of large error. or maybe you just didn't do a part of the assignment, and that kind of falls, all the way across the board. 4 is kind of like that you messed up phase. 6, 8, and 10, those are the stages where you may have just made a lot of minor errors, or maybe there's like one pretty big error. These are the normal sections. Like these are the learning sections where you're learning to write, to become a good writer, to write well. 4, 2, and 0, that's like you made a pretty big mistake. And so the thing is down here, I'm going to fill those in. And of course, actually, you know what? I'll actually put little circles around these too. You'll be able to see it whenever you get yours back. But down here, I'll kind of numerate those for you, put those in number form, and then I'll total those out for you and give you a percentage. And so let's say you get an average of 80, that's going to be the average, your total points will come out to basically an 80%. Now in the comments, this is where it's going to get important, because the comment section is where I'm going to give you feedback. If I give you a 6 on your focus, on your thesis essentially, I'm going to say, this is what was wrong with your thesis, this is how you could have made it better. Okay, and so no matter what I do, if I ding you for something, I'm going to tell you how to fix it. And so that's important to know. So anyways, go ahead and come back to weekly course contents, go to week 1. That's the rubric and the guidelines. Now the first one, week 1, discussion question in the first person. And that means using the word I, me, and mine. I went to the store. My dog ran away. My friend bought me a car. That's first person. Write a response of 50 to 100 words in which you appeal to a police officer who has pulled you over. Who has pulled you over? Who has pulled you over for going 85 and a 50. So you're going 35 miles over the speed limit, which I think they can write you a hefty ticket. I'm pretty sure. In this response, you're trying to get the officer to let you off with only a warning. How would you do that? And so don't tell me, well, no, I'm sorry. I want you to tell me I would approach him like this. Or you could even go, actually, sorry, scratch that. How would you do this? Blah. In a response, you're trying to get the officer to let you off with only a warning. How would you do this? I do not want you to say, I would do this, I would do that. I want you to give me a narrative, a story in the first person. I'm sorry, officer, I was speeding because my friend was recently in a car accident and I need to get to the hospital as soon as possible. I understand that I should have been going slower, but I'm desperately trying to get to my friend. Is there any way that you could possibly let me off with a warning just this once? So it's a story of it. I don't want you to say, I would have said sorry to the officer. I would have told him that I was speeding because my friend was in an accident. Don't tell me I would have. Take all those would haves out and tell me in the first person. Imagine you're talking to the officer right now, and you're typing to the officer and saying, I'm sorry, officer. Pretend this is a chat room, or a messenger or text, and you're texting the officer via your keyboard. And you're like, I'm sorry, officer, I was speeding because of whatever. You got to get him you have to try to get him to not want to give you a ticket. You're trying to persuade him into not giving you a ticket. That's that assignment there. After you've done that, watch the video on ethos, pathos, and logos. That will give you some strategy on how to persuade people. And purpose, audience, and genre. I kind of mentioned that a little bit back here in the Writing Project 1 guidelines. What is the purpose for writing a paper? To whom should you be trying to write this paper? That's the audience. And then basically what vehicle is the best for your paper to write in its trip to your audience. That's really what a genre is. So think about a horror genre. If you were trying to make someone laugh, obviously the horror genre is not the best way to do that. That is a poor vehicle in which to send your jokes. If you're trying to do something funny, comedy is the best way to do that. And so that is the vehicle, that is the genre, that is the appropriate genre that you would try and address your audience for a comedy. So consider that genre depending on what you're trying to do. What's the purpose? Are you trying to make people, are you trying to persuade someone through comedy? Are you trying to persuade someone that our gun laws are too strict right now and they need to be loosened, and you're going to approach that through comedy? If so, then that's your genre. So anyways, watch that video. These last two, I don't know what happened to them, but you can still watch them right here. You click on these links. I'll show you just for evidence. You can just click on them. They'll pop up like this, and you can watch them. There we go. Anyways, I don't get that music out of here. So purpose, audience, and genre, part 2. And how to write a reflective narrative. This one's important because you're going to be writing a reflective narrative. Now on to the homeworks. You already did one discussion question. Now I want you to come here and do this one. Now that you've watched the video on ethos, pathos, and logos, think about your response from the first one. Remember when you were like, oh, I'm sorry, officer, blah, blah, blah. Would you consider your response? You have to basically go back and evaluate your own response. Do you think it was ethical, emotional, or logical? Basically, ethos, pathos, or logos. Excuse me. Choose which form of appeal that you used in your original response and explain why your response in discussion in that first response. Explain why it was either ethos, pathos, and or logos, because it could have been more than one, and do that in 50 to 100 words. Once you're done with that, once you read someone else's response, you know, their thing where they were telling the police officer sorry, and I want you to reply to their posting. Posting should be substantial. What that means is don't just simply say agree or a good job. I really like your post. Cool. I want you to go into these posts and actually write something. If you just go in there and be like, good job, that's not going to get you points. You need to go in and be like, hey, I liked how you appealed to the officer using ethos. I feel that it made you sound very reliable, dependable, whatever you want to do. I'm trying not to give away the answer. So however you want to write that. Instead, point to something you agreed with or disagreed with and explain why you agreed or why you disagreed. Or if you go into the route of saying, I really liked how you used, what did I say? Ethics? Something. I forgot what I said earlier. But anyways, if you go into it and you're like, I really like how you used ethics in your reply to that officer in the first one. Explain what you mean by that. Why do you like it? What is it that was actually good about it? I think that the officer would have replied because most officers are also ethical, and so they like people that are also ethical, you know, whatever that might be. So that reply to that other person also needs to be 50 to 100 words. So in total, this should be about a 200-word assignment. One in your post, 50 to 100 words in your post, and then 50 to 100 words in your reply. And down here's an example. And as always, if you get stumped, give me an email, give me a call, give me a text. I'll get back to you. All right, during this week, this is discussion question 3. You have all these to do. I just realized I'm still not down low enough. How's that? I slouch. Okay, during this week, we are introducing the skills that are required when developing an effective piece of writing. Read chapters 1 and 2 in the rhetoric textbook. In the rhetoric textbook. After reading these 2 chapters, post your reply to 2 of the following discussion questions in 100 words or more. So, choose 2 of these questions and answer them in 100 words or more. Once you answer them, so that can be like if you have a full assignment, maybe you pick number 1 and 2. In 50 words, you answer the first one. In 50 words, you answer the second one. And it can be more than that, that's fine. 50-50. And then you go to somebody else's post who is also answered to, and then you reply to theirs in 50 words. So it's like a 150-word assignment total. And remember, when you're replying to somebody else's reply, you can't just be like, good job. It has to be like, hey, I liked how you did this in your paper because it's good for this reason. Or I think you could have also, like if you go in here and you're like, what evidence does Curl give to support her argument? Well, I don't want to give you the answer to that one. So let's just say, what is it? Well, can't give you that one either. Anyways, if you answer one of these, I'm trying not to give you the answer in my video because that kind of ruins the assignment, right? If you see someone answer, let's just say that they said, they had this really good-looking pizza, and that was the evidence that Curl used. That obviously isn't in that, isn't in that other thing. But let's just say that was the answer. If you go in there, give them some feedback. Oh yeah, I know how you said pizza, but I really think that it was the hamburger that really did it. So give alternative perspectives as well. That can work too for a reply. Just make sure that those replies to other people are 50 words or more. And last but not least, for this week, got a lot of stuff this week, but I promise you it will not be that much after this. Just week 1's kind of a lot because we have to get through the start, and then we have to get through week 1, and then next week is actually less homework than this, and it's just week 2. Just week 2. Anyways, by the end of this week, by Sunday night at midnight, have all this done, including this assignment. Week 1 homework, rhetorical, writing, and strategy. So, by now, you should begin to understand the basics of reflective narrative writing, especially from this thing. I mean, this is kind of the really big explanation, and there's probably more videos here that'll help. I mean, like this one up here will probably help as well. But I don't expect to have a full and clear understanding of how to complete this project. I mean, this is just like literally the first, second video you've watched. I don't expect you to be like, oh yeah, I got this. That's going to come next week, hopefully. But you should be at least be able to answer these questions. So, let's see. Oh, you can't. Yeah, I was like, wait, what? You can't use the assignment, use textbook. Yeah, you can use textbook to answer these questions. Answer each of these 5 questions in at least 250 words total. So that's like 50 words a pop. 250 words total. Answer those questions in your own words or using the textbook or using the videos. Just explain to me what your answer is. And that's it. That's really all there is. So you complete this week. You'll go through and you'll complete discussion question 1, discussion question 2, discussion question 3, and rhetorical writing and strategy. Oh yeah, and then from the start here, there's just that easy assignment where it's like, tell me the 6 things about yourself. This first assignment, let's get acquainted. So that's due as well. And those are all worth points, all worth percentages. They all break down into that little pie chart on the syllabus that you watched last video. So make sure you do that. Other than that, that's all I got for you. Congratulations, you made it through like friggin' 45 minutes of video. Wow, it really was. Time flies. Alright, well it's like 6 o'clock here where I'm at, so I'm going to go home. Tired of being in this box. When I look like this, I feel like I look like a ventriloquist dummy. Anyways, that's the end of the video. This video ended a while ago. Alright, well that's all I got for you. Do the start here. If you haven't already done that, go back there and do that. If not, if you've already done all that stuff, come here week 1, finish all these assignments, and then get your homework done, young man or woman, or lady, or gentleman, whatever. Everything. Remember, everything's due by by Sunday nights at midnight every week. Sunday night at midnight. That's your due date. Amen. See you guys later.